You know what my favorite kind of leaks are? Battery leaks, because that's honestly the one thing I would fix about my 14 Pro Max, and thankfully we have some news about iPhone 16 getting big battery life improvements, so let's delve in. Essentially, there's been a lot of talk regarding iPhone 16 batteries, because the way they're being designed and implemented in the iPhone is changing in a drastic way, and you know who's behind this? The EU, of course. They've put a new law in place which states consumers must be able to replace batteries in their iPhone using accessible tools. Does that mean we're going back to the good old days of removable battery covers? No, we're not. But Apple will be using this fancy technology called electrically induced adhesive debonding, which allows users to apply a low voltage of electricity to quickly dislodge the battery instead of having to rely on finicky adhesive strips. We'll have to see how this is implemented, but I'm gonna be honest guys, is it really safe for consumers to be playing around with electricity? And also remember, the way you actually open the iPhone remains unchanged, so you have to keep track of screws and smaller parts as you try to do a battery replacement. I guess Apple does offer manuals and the tools you need with their self-service program, but I still think the EU is going to want a simpler process. We shall see, I guess. Apple will also be better supporting third-party batteries later this year, since right now using a third-party battery prevents you from seeing the health and cycle count, but you should apparently now be able to see this, albeit with a disclaimer that Apple cannot verify the information, and it's more of a guesstimate, which is fair I guess, since the battery is not from Apple directly. You know what else would be fair guys? Subscribing to this channel, of course. It's free and would bring you the latest about Apple right to your subscription box, so please consider it. It would be appreciated. Join the saranbyte gang now. Anyways, coming back to iPhone 16, because at least one of these models should get this new electrical adhesive thingamajig, there will now be a stainless steel casing around the battery similar to how things are on the Apple Watch. Now, not only will this make it easier to remove, allegedly, but the battery also is going to be denser according to Min Chi Kuo, which of course allows for longer endurance. In fact, we have a TikTok video from China showing us one of these batteries, and they claim iPhone 16 Pro is going to have a 3,577 mAh battery, and the 16 Pro Max will have a 4,747 mAh battery, so those are decently bigger over the 15 series. Now, if you're wondering how this translates for real life usage, let's now get into some previous leaks regarding battery life for the whole range. Courtesy of Twitter leaker Mijun Bu, we got some details on the battery capacities for the complete iPhone 16 range, and beginning with the bog standard iPhone 16, this allegedly is going to have a 3,561 mAh battery, and obviously these numbers are pointless without some sort of comparison, and so for those curious, the 15 right now has a 3,349 mAh battery, so the 16 offers a respectable 6% larger battery. Nice! Now you may be wondering, what does this actually mean for real life usage? How many more hours of endurance could we actually get? Well, if we compare the jump from iPhone 12 to 13, which was the last time the iPhone got a major battery boost, the regular 13 had a near 15% increase in battery capacity over the 12, and that resulted in 2.5 more hours of endurance, according to Apple's marketing. Now, with iPhone 16's battery capacity being 6% larger, I'm gonna guess it might only improve to 1 or 1.5 more hours, which isn't as impressive, but of course there is a chance the regular phone's jumping to 3nm with the brand new A18 could help improve the endurance as well, but yes, unfortunately, this won't be as substantial of a jump as the iPhone 13 was. The regular Pro should also see a sizable improvement. As I mentioned previously, it should have a 3,577 mAh battery. The 15 Pro had a 3,274 mAh battery. So for the first time ever, the regular Pro actually has a slightly bigger battery over the regular iPhone. Usually it's the regular phone that has the bigger battery, but considering the 16 Pro is now jumping to 6.3 inches, the battery increase does make sense, and I would expect this to get 1.5 hours to 2 more hours of endurance, coupled with the efficiency upgrades of the A18 Pro chipset. Moving to the big boy, aka the iPhone 16 Pro Max, this has a 4,747 mAh battery, which is around 5% larger than the 15 Pro Max's 4,422 mAh battery, so it's a modest increase, and it should result in 1 hour or 1.5 more hours of endurance. Of course, at the end of the day, battery stats are hard to measure since everyone uses their phones so differently, but we are allegedly getting bigger displays with the Pro phones, which could use up more battery life. There's also going to be the A18 Pro chipset that could either be more efficient or more power hungry, so there are too many factors to make a precise prediction, but yeah, those are my guesses. But now let's get into the not so great news, because the iPhone 16 Plus allegedly is getting a smaller battery over the 15 Plus. Yes, you heard me right. I said smaller. Allegedly, this will have a 4006 mAh battery, which is 9% smaller than the 4383 mAh battery in the iPhone 15 Plus right now, which is odd, but I can foresee a reason why Apple might do this, and that reason is money. You see, this year, a lot of the battery test reports and even Apple in their marketing made it clear the 15 Plus offered the best endurance in the range. And so there is a possibility many consumers buy the Plus over the more expensive Pro Max, which Tim doesn't want because the Pro Max has the juicier profit margins, and so he obviously wants to change that. It's the same reason why I'm pretty sure the 15-inch MacBook Air had the same battery life as the 13-inch, because if offered all the battery life benefits of the larger MacBook Pro, a lot of consumers would just save their cash and go with the Air instead. At the end of the day, Apple's lineup is like this perfect ladder, and they want to slowly push you up and get you to buy the highest end products that have the juicier profit margins, and so butchering the 16 Plus on purpose to get you to buy the 16 Pro Max is completely feasible. Then again, you could also argue the 15 Pro Max has been doing pretty well sales-wise regardless. In fact, it's the best-selling iPhone right now, and the Plus isn't even in the top 10 list. So I guess people will still buy a titanium shiny iPhone regardless of the battery life. But putting that aside, it makes plain sense for the more expensive iPhone to have the better endurance. And so yeah, this really only sucks for the 5 people using the Plus models. Everyone else, I think they're going to go with the Pro Max anyways, so yeah, might as well give that model the better battery life. Now don't get me wrong, the 16 Plus is still going to be respectable battery life wise, mainly because it's going to have a 60Hz display, but at the end of the day guys, Apple wants a balance where the endurance is good enough to justify getting this over the regular 16, but it's not so good you no longer want the 16 Pro Max. Heck, I'll be honest, if the regular phones had a macro lens, I would definitely get the Plus because I prioritize battery life. And obviously Apple does not want me thinking like that, they want me to buy the shiny Pro Max. Also, this will be the last Plus model to exist anyways, because similar to the Mini, it seems like the idea of an additional regular size isn't really working for Apple, and so they plan to replace it with a new upmarket iPhone 17 thin that apparently is going to have a brand new design and is going to be, well, thinner. Let's see how that pans out, I guess. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching. Right guys, we have more news regarding the chipset the iPad mini 7's getting, and it's actually good news, so let's dive right in. In case you've missed my previous videos on the iPad mini 7, a lot of previous rumors suggested this refresh would be pretty tame and might only offer the A16 chipset as the main upgrades. Now this would be very disappointing.